Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and young people. I call to order the meeting of the Portsmouth City Council, and I want to welcome you all to our meeting. Before we get started, I want to welcome back to her seat our city clerk, Ms. Deborah White. Thank you, ma'am. Let us all stand. Well, first, yes, let us all stand, please, for a moment of silence. Thank you. We are now ready for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Here.
Mr. Battle?
Here.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke? Here. Mr. Moody?
Here.
Dr. Whitaker? Mr. Woodard?
Here.
Mayor Glover?
Here. Members of council, we have for our consideration the minutes of a called meeting on July 27th, 2021, and of a regular meeting on July 27th, 2021. Is there any discussion of the minutes? If not, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move adoption.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
We now have a presentation to the Olive Branch Little League Senior League Softball District 6 state champions. Could you all please join me up here? Team member. Testing one. Team members. Thank you. Talking to you, Tom. It certainly is not every day in which we get to celebrate the success of our young people in the community, and it's my esteemed honor and privilege to take this liberty at this time. So here we go. Whereas the Olive Branch Little League are the proud Senior League Softball District state champions, and whereas this year the team pushed harder than before, practiced harder than before, and together as a team put forth 110% effort after dedicating the 2021 season to their late president, Andre Copeland, by dubbing the season Play for Dre. And whereas the team had some great saves because the first baseman did splits to catch a throw. The second baseman caught infield flies. The shortstop made sure the ball stayed in front of her. The third baseman stayed ready, always on her toes. The outfield making sure always to be prepared for the ball to come their way. The pitcher and the catcher duo did their best with 309 pitches thrown and caught, facing 84 batters, striking out 48, only walking 2, over 20 innings and 2 no-hitters. The girls in the dugout and the super fans cheered endlessly. And whereas the 15-player team consists of Christina Love, Lexi Moore, Najan Jones, is that right? Najan? Najan, I'm sorry, Najan. Karis Facenda, Alana Buck, Tiana Hodges, Krista Cross, Nakaya Hudson, Laurel Welsh, Jasmine Robinson, Micaiah Edwards, Michaela Vance, Delilah Winstead, Victoria Farrow, and Ryla Nieves. Riley Nieves. Okay, help me out now. And whereas we, the citizens of this community, desire to honor these athletes for their proficiency, physical conditioning, sportsmanship displayed throughout this season. Now, therefore, I, Shannon E. Glover, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia, do hereby proclaim August 10th through August 12th, 2021 as Olive Branch Senior League Softball District 6 State Champions Celebration Days in Portsmouth. And commend this team, their manager, Val Vick, their coaches, Damian and Madison Jamerson, and many volunteers on this outstanding accomplishment. In witness whereof, and on behalf of the Portsmouth City Council, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Portsmouth, Virginia to be affixed this 10th day of August, 2021. Congratulations, ladies and coaches.
The only thing I'd like to say is I'm so proud of all these girls because they did. Dre coached every one of these girls at one point in their career. He's been a fixture with Wilson High School and some other high schools. He's been a fixture at Olive Branch for probably 10 years or better. His kids played through there, and we're just so proud of them. We thank all the coaches, managers, and all the volunteers. I've got over probably 100 volunteers that give up their time in the city of Portsmouth to try to keep these kids off the street and keep them doing something constructive like this. And it's the volunteers in the city. We need their help, need y'all's help to keep it going so we keep the kids going the right way. And we thank y'all very much.
Thank you, sir. And we have for each of the players on the team a copy of the proclamation. Thank you all again. Continue to work hard, play hard, and be wonderful in our community. We're so grateful to recognize you on your special achievement. Thank you again.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's the good part. Madam Clerk, would you please read the speaker's statement?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, City Council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will hear a beep. We ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, ma'am. We have come to the part of our agenda of public hearing. Item 21-242. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. The ordinance is zoning amendment ordinance Z 2103.
And Madam Clerk, is the applicant present?
Yes, sir. Sir, please come
Would you
forward.
please come forward, sir?
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming.
Sure.
And, sir, you have 10 minutes.
Okay, I won't need that long. It's a relatively small thing. I think what we have is a proposal that's actually good for everybody that's involved, a win-win-win. My name is Warren Holland. I'm a manager and one of the owners of Airline Self-Storage. And the facility is over 35 years old, and my business partner and I want to upgrade the facility and do some renovations out there. One involves the meeting that you're having today for a new fence line. And the existing fence is actually an old chain link fence that is in disrepair. So we are purchasing a small strip of land from our next door neighbor, which is the church next door. And we plan on installing a high security fence that'll be a little bit more respectful for the cemetery that's right next door. Should upgrade the look of the facility for the city and the passengers that drive by Airline Boulevard, and also just upgrade the security for our customers. So we're looking to a partial rezoning. You'll see it in if you have this survey, the latest survey. The little hashtag area will be added to the Airline Boulevard Associates, and that will also add just a tiny bit of property for taxable purposes for the city, since it's coming from the church, which is non-taxable. So basically, the white line is the old fence line, the existing chain link fence, and the red line will be the new security fence. That's about it. Do you have any questions? Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Holland.
Sure.
Hold on, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to look down here first because Mr. Woodard was calling my name first. Okay, hold on, sir. Mr. Woodard, sir, do you have any questions? Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I know you were saying you're going to upgrade to a new fence. I didn't know we had any examples of this new high security fence.
I'm not sure if they're in the presentation. I can certainly get that if you want it, but basically it's going from a chain link fence to what looks like a wrought iron fence that has a curve to the top.
There we go.
All of that will be black. So it's a very attractive structure.
Right.
And I think it actually blends very well into the landscape of what a cemetery fence would look like anyway. So we'll install it at our expense, but the church will actually get the benefit of that as well.
Right. That is excellent. I do appreciate it. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Battle, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, sir.
So you're saying just the fence, no construction?
Oh, yes, sir, there'll be construction, but nothing to do with the rezoning. The rezoning will deal with the fence line. But we'll have construction that's separate from that.
What kind of construction what are you constructing?
Well, we're going to upgrade. We're going to upgrade the facade of the office itself. We're going to add an electronic gate, which will have access, keypad access.
No, I'm not talking about the gate. There's no more buildings?
No, sir. It's a 3-acre site, and the buildings cover all of the site.
Oh,
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Is there anyone from the public, sir, are you finished?
Yes.
Do you have anything else to
I just
add?
didn't have any.
Okay, Vice Mayor Barnes.
I know that Councilman Woodard and Councilwoman Lisa Lucas-Burr are on the Planning Commission. Did you guys have anybody that came and voiced their concerns regarding this? Okay.
There was a concern actually by one of the neighbors that had talked to other neighbors, but there was from a misunderstanding. They thought all of the church property was being rezoned industrial, and it's not. It's just this little strip.
Okay.
So I had meetings with them afterwards, and they were very happy, so.
Thank
Okay.
you, Mr. Holland. Sir,
Sure.
you can be seated. Thank you very much. Because this is a public hearing, are there is there anyone in the audience who would like to come and speak on this matter? Going once? Seeing none, then this public hearing is closed. Members of council, is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move adoption.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Our next item, item B, UP-21-10. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. A resolution granting a use permit, UP 2110, to WIN Property Management and Real Estate Development Limited to construct a townhouse development having not to exceed 6 total units at 2305 Nashville Avenue, 2321 Jefferson Street, and 2323 Jefferson Street. Tax parcels 0139 through 0830, 0139 through 0850, and 0139 through 0840.
Thank you, ma'am. And is the applicant present tonight?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good.
My
Thank
name
you
is
for being here, and you have 10 minutes.
My name is Eric Kelly. I'm one of the owners of WIN Properties. We're just trying to establish some townhomes in that area, and hopefully that bring the neighborhood up a little bit. There's a lot of issues over there previously with people overdosing. A couple of houses we tore those down. So this is the concept that we provided that we would like to put there.
Thank you, sir. You can stand there. I'm going to see if any of my colleagues on council has any questions for you. Does any of my colleagues on council have any questions for Mr. Kelly? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Once again, because this is a public hearing, if there is anyone in the audience who did not have an opportunity to register, you can come forward and speak on this matter.
Mayor. Just wanted to say something.
Vice Mayor Barnes, you have the floor, sir.
I just wanted to say regarding this particular issue, I did get a call regarding this from a citizen, and they were saying that they had addressed some concerns through an email. With, no, this was the one. This was the one. Yeah. They said they addressed the issue through planning, but was it an email or something?
I think I know what you're talking about. I'm gonna let Deputy County Manager, City Manager Bob address this. This is not the issue, though. He will explain.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. The item you were speaking to was on a planning commission item that just went to the planning commission this week. That will be coming for city council in September. That was not this application. Okay.
Could you provide the name of that project so he's aware of what project had the issue with it?
I could not tell you off the top of my head what the name. I would let me just mention that for the members of city council, we'll describe what happened there. So right before the planning commission meeting on Tuesday, there was a couple of email submissions through the planning department's planning commission email page, and it's from the I believe it was the Prentice Park Civic League. And unfortunately, the staff person who normally gets those emails was not in the office during the week, and so we did not receive those. So the planning commission was not aware those had come in. And so when they went to the planning commission, they were not aware that we'd received some couple of negative comment emails prior to the planning commission meeting.
Thank you, sir, for that update. Once again, I will just, to remind everyone, this is a public hearing, and if you did not have an opportunity to register, if you wish to come forward, this is your time. Seeing none, then
No,
this,
we got one.
okay, sir? You would state your name and address, please.
Barry Randall, the Prentice Park section of Portsmouth. As the Civic League president of the Brighton and Prentice Park section, I did have one of the citizens call and inquire about that property. I told them that no one had reached out to me to inquire, so I would ask for an opportunity to meet with the owners before you guys would vote on this. It's just a request.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other speakers that wish to come forward on this public hearing? Seeing none, this public hearing is now closed. Members of council, is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, we're in need of a motion and a second.
Move for approval.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item C, UP-21-11. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. A resolution granting a use permit, UP 2111, to Community Housing Partners Corporation to construct and operate a multifamily dwelling development having not to exceed 71 total units and a leased office at 2519 Bird Lane and 2521 Bird Lane, tax parcels 0454-0020 and 0454-0050.
Thank you, ma'am. Is the applicant present? Welcome, sir. If you would please state your name and your address. And you have 10 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. For the record, my name is Rob Beeman. I'm a local land use attorney with the Troutman Pepper Law Firm here today on behalf of the applicant, Community Housing Partners, or CHP. This application involves the existing Cross Creek apartment complex, which was originally constructed back in the late 1960s and has been owned and operated by CHP since the late 1990s. CHP is a 501c3 nonprofit based here in Virginia that not only serves as a landlord for this apartment complex, but also provides a range of services to its residents, including after-school and summer youth programs, computer access and literacy training, health screenings, fitness programs, nutrition classes, and financial education workshops. Given the age of this complex, it's now over 50 years old, CHP would like to redevelop the southern portion of this site with 71 multifamily units within 3 buildings, which would be very attractive and designed with high-quality materials, including brick and fiber cement. CHP would construct, own, and manage these units, so there'd be no change in operation or use or ownership on the property. In terms of public outreach, in May, CHP sent letters to each of the adjacent property owners, the single-family homeowners, and provided them with information regarding this application and invited those folks to participate in a Zoom meeting that we held in June. We did get feedback from several of the residents, which was supportive, and we're not aware of any opposition at this time. In summary, we believe this will be an upgrade to the property. CHP has been a part of this community for over 20 years now, and they look forward to continuing here serving the residents of Portsmouth. And with that, we thank you for your time, and we'll stand by for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Beeman. Are there any questions from my colleagues on council? Councilwoman Lucas Burke, ma'am, you have the floor.
Great. Hi, Attorney Beeman, good to see you again. Will the renovation of these apartments, result in significant increase in the rents for the residents there?
It will not. We anticipate the rents will be between $850 and $950, depending on the number of bedrooms in these units.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're going to be offering the same services for the development of the
Yes, sir. Same services for all the new tenants. Yes, sir.
Councilmember Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. And also, just to reiterate, you said the tenants that that live there already, they have first dibs, I guess, on moving back into these new
Yes, sir.
developments.
That's right. We are anticipating constructing 2 of the 3 buildings before demolishing the existing building, which will let all those tenants just move over to the new facilities and never have to leave the site. Yes, sir. And actually, CHP provides moving costs so the tenants don't have to come out of pocket for the relocation.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions from my colleagues on council? Seeing none? Thank you, Attorney Beam.
Thank you very much.
This is a public hearing, and it is now open to anyone from the audience who may not have had the opportunity to register, to come forward and speak at this time. Is there anyone from the audience who wishes to speak on this public hearing? Seeing none, this public hearing is closed. Members of council, is there any additional comments or discussion? Seeing none, we are in need of a motion and second.
Move for approval.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. We have now reached the agenda item of City Manager's Report, item 21-243. And Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item.
Yes, sir. An ordinance 1 accepting 3 dam safety, flood protection, and protection assistance fund grants in the total amount of $378,818.15 from the Virginia Resources Authority and appropriating said sum in the dam upgrades project in the FY 2022 Capital Improvements Fund budget, and 2, transferring the amount of $378,818.15 from the FY 2022 Public Utilities Fund budget and appropriating said amount in the dam upgrades project in the FY 2022 Capital Improvement Fund budget.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any registered speakers?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, is there any discussion on this matter? Seeing none, we're in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item 21-244. Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance we are considering pertaining to this item.
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting $476,965 of Community Development Block Grant Program income and $81,492.21 of Home Investment Partnership Program income and appropriating said amounts in the FY 2022 Community Planning and Development Program Fund.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any registered speakers?
No, sir.
Council members, is there any discussion on this matter? Seeing none, we're ready for a motion and a second.
Move adoption.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Next, item 21-245. And Madam Clerk, please read the resolution we are considering pertaining to this item.
Yes, sir. A resolution authorizing the acquisition of the park shelter property located at 1900 Columbus Avenue.
Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
No, sir.
Council members, is there any discussion on this matter? Councilmember Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any way for us to get any insight on this particular topic from our city manager?
This project is recommended that the city take ownership of the property to ensure that it continues to serve the community as an emergency shelter. In 2013, the city used $1 million in community development block grant funding for the substantial rehabilitation of the shelter. It also serves as one of our strategies to support services and an important part of our plan in terms of addressing homelessness.
Thank you, Madam City Manager.
Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, so this property is privately owned?
No, this was part of the redevelopment and housing authority.
Okay.
Property, and
Okay.
now we're transferring it to the
Transferring it.
city.
Okay.
Are there any additional questions or comments from my colleagues on council? Seeing none, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. We've now come to item 21-246. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir, a resolution to approve the FY 2022, FY 2023 Community Services Performance Contract for the Department of Behavioral Health Care Services.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any registered speakers?
No, sir.
Thank you. Council members, is there any discussion from any of you on this matter? Seeing none, we're in need of a motion and second.
Move for approval.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. We have now come to new business. Item 21-247, Boards and Commissions. Vice Mayor Barnes and Dr. Whitaker, are there any appointments to bring forward for council's consideration?
Yes, we have a few of them that we want to bring to council for your approval. First is the Board of Building Codes and Appeals. We want to appoint Keith Carey. Second is Community Criminal Justice Board, Judge Brenda Spy and Commonwealth Attorney Joyce Wydell. For the library board, Aisha Buggs. For the Newport Development Authority, Dr. Jacqueline Walker, Brittany Mays, Monica Holloman, and Christine Johnson. Portsmouth Port and Industrial Commission, Mr. Eugene Swenson. SE Alcohol Safety Action Program, Dr. Jacqueline Walker, and Supplemental Retirement Board, Stephanie Elliott Williams.
Thank you, sir. Is there any discussion on these appointments?
And there is no conflict with, I believe we have Dr. Jacqueline Walker. I'm sure she's capable of handling both of those, but there's no conflict with the two boards. I think you might have mentioned.
Council members, if I could answer that for the representatives. The Newport Development Authority only meets once a year,
Okay.
so it would definitely not be a conflict.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any further discussion on the recommendations? Seeing none, we need a,
Second.
Move for approval?
right, we need a second, right? Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. We have now come to item 21-248, items submitted by council members. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. A resolution regarding collective bargaining of public employees and officers.
Madam Clerk, are there any registered speakers?
No, sir.
Council members, is there any discussion from you? Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, I'm going to be voting no on this because I believe that collective bargaining, unionization is something that's beneficial. My problem with the language here is that I think it's overarching, and it says here that the city will not recognize any labor union. And my problem with this is the particular group that was petitioning the city for a union. I did not agree with that organization representing personnel because of some past issues within that department that overall group represents. So I'm going to be voting against this because I do believe in the value of collective bargaining, and I think that it should be limited in the language that was presented.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Battle, sir, you have the floor.
I too will be voting no. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that has any questions or comments on this matter? Councilwoman Lucasberg.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go. Councilwoman Lucasberg, then.
Yes, okay, great,
ahead.
thank you, Mayor. We did receive an extensive update last meeting on collective bargaining, and it was something that we had all hoped would be good for the city last year when the city council passed resolution to move forward. But after hearing the information presented from our CFO regarding the financial costs that would be associated, I think that until we get more information and more funding to be able to carry this out, that it's going to be pretty difficult for us to carry that through. So our heart was there to try to get collective bargaining for our unions, for the departments that were interested in it. But with the information that has been provided, we have to respond to that in that manner. Thank you.
And
Thank you, ma'am.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
my
sir. Councilmember Battle, sir, you
my
have the floor.
reasoning was at the onset, we're going to be spending $2 million. That's not counting the fees associated with going to court or other things involved. And that could be funding that we could use to give the folk applying for this raises. So it's kind of counterproductive to spend money to give them raises that we could use to give them raises. So that's my logic for saying no.
Mayor, if I could jump in here, I know Dr. Whitaker wants to speak, but I need to clear something up.
Yes, ma'am.
The item before you is no collective bargaining. So to vote yes is no collective bargaining. If you vote no, you want collective bargaining.
Yeah.
So I needed to clarify that. I don't want anyone to be confused with the language that you have.
Thank you, ma'am, for that clarification.
Right. That's what I was going to present. I thank clerk for raising that because the way it's worded, the opposite is the vote that probably most of you want to do. And that's why I was saying I'm voting no because of the overarching language that's in it, not that I'm against collective bargaining.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Woodard, did you have a comment, sir?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was just, I understood the actual item submitted as well, but I was trying to see, could we get Mimi Terry up here, our CFO, to see can we get a little bit more clarification just for the public.
Sir, I'm not really understanding what you're asking for clarification.
Oh, well, the thing is, like I said, I don't know if the public understand the actual adoption as well, so I was just trying to get her up here so we can get some more information
Well,
based on
I
this.
think that the city manager can speak to that concern.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically, what is before you is the fact that we have analyzed collective bargaining, And in light of the fact that we are already working in collaboration with various union groups, we feel that spending additional $2 million that's projected in costs is not prudent to do so at this point.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, if it's a consensus of council, can we defer this item to another meeting and get the wording in line with the adoption language? Because it's confusing.
We have a deadline we have to hit as far as the firefighters. What we could do is have a substitute motion concerning just the firefighters' request for a union, vote on that, yay or nay.
What's the deadline?
It's August 26th, I believe.
26.
What is it there?
Can we have a special?
August
Can we have a
29th.
special?
And so we won't be meeting before then. The firefighters were required to respond and vote on their ask before that date. So we could introduce a substitute motion that would just deal with the firefighters only.
I have no motion.
Whether somebody could make a motion,
Can we-
perhaps, to
So what we're saying here is that for this motion, yes means we don't want it.
right.
Right.
And no would mean we do want it.
Yes.
Correct.
So if we don't want this, or we don't want to approve it, we're going to vote yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Well, that's,
Can we,
Let's deal with the question before us presented by Council Member Dr. Whitaker. The question before us was, and I think the attorney addressed that, can we deal with the language issue of this particular resolution and make sure it's clear? Is that your question, sir?
right, I asked to defer it if it's a special meeting we have to have before the 29th, just but as it's presented, it's too big of an issue to have this confusion in the language.
Right. It was discussed, I think, at the last meeting thoroughly, and the motion was based on the consensus of council from the last meeting. There needs to be a vote before August 29th, one way or the other. I don't know, by special meeting or at least as far as the firefighters' request. As far as no unions totally, I believe that could wait. But as far as the firefighters, we have to decide yay or nay by August 29th. This was an all-encompassing.
And if I may just add, if we want to break it out once again, our discussion that we had, part of this whole idea as we move forward with, if we were to move forward, it potentially, if we're looking at one group versus other groups, it potentially creates an inequitable situation. So if we're just going to take it away from the firefighters to have that option and create it for other options, to me, that creates the same inequity.
Right.
I think in dealing with the matter before us, I think we need to take a vote tonight. That's just me from where I sit. And as we move forward, we can have different discussions around how we move forward. But the matter before us tonight is a vote. And that's what's before us at this time. And we did pass meeting based on this same language. We had a consensus that was in the affirmative to move forward with the resolution tonight. So that's just a perspective. Dr. Whitaker, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Smith. This is for legal counsel. Does the law allow us to deal with individual groups as they petition us for union representation?
I believe it does.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. So it's not an equity issue if we vote on what you were recommending dealing with this particular organization that is petitioning us for union representation.
I don't know if I'm recommending that course, but that is a potential way to go. You could either vote just on the firefighters with a motion, a proper motion, or you could vote it on all. We drafted the motion based on the consensus of council. Last time there was a lot of discussion about it, and the motion or resolution was drafted based on the consensus from the last council meeting.
Well, would it be better for you to draft the language of that motion given what you're recommending?
Well, it's up to city council. I mean, we'll draft if there's a motion made to just respond to the firefighters, then in a second, we would go with that. But, you know, what we were told to draft was based on the consensus of council at the last meeting. So it's really up to you guys. We'll draft whatever.
Well, I'm not asking about redrafting the resolution. It sounds like you're suggesting that we just present another motion particular to the firefighters.
Yes, I think that would probably be what's called a substitute motion.
Right. So what I'm saying is, would it be proper for you to draft it so we make sure that we are legally correct?
Oh, right now, I don't know if we could get it.
I mean, you have to do it right on the spot because we can come back to it.
Well, yeah, let me see if Mr. Miller could draft that quickly. I don't know. Could you draft that?
We can come back to it. If it's the consensus.
Well, let's just first take a consensus vote on this matter so that we can move the matter forward. Is it, if it is your decision to move forward with the resolution as it is stated in the yes vote, or a resolution is stated, not the yes vote, can I see a show of your hands, please?
I didn't realize.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay, sir.
the only thing
Mr.
I'm
Bello, you
looking
have-
for is clarity. I mean, if we have a statement that if we are not going to approve something, that the proper response is yes, then we need to understand that, and we made that clear. So, and for future references, I think we should word things or items where no means no and yes means yes, and not this chicanery. Okay?
Well, sir, I certainly can appreciate that, and we did ask for the clarity on that, and yes means that we're not going to, and no means
what we
that
need
we
to
would.
do.
So that has been made clear. I believe that has been made clear.
I'm not
There is mud.
I'm not clear.
How would we like to proceed based on the matter? We just called for a consensus, and I kind of, folks was half raising their hand or whatever the situation is. So I'll ask the question before my colleagues again.
Mr. Mayor, the resolution says that the city will not recognize any labor union. So if you're voting yes, then you're voting against collective bargaining.
That is correct.
If you vote no, you're voting for collective bargaining.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. So are we okay with proceeding with the resolution as it is? Yes. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
So I get a motion, sir.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucasberg?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
No.
Dr. Whitaker?
No.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Item B. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. A resolution authorizing execution of the Virginia Opioid Abatement Fund and Settlement Allocation Memorandum of Understanding.
Madam Clerk, are there any registered speakers on this item?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, then we are ready for the motion and second.
Move for approval.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Battle?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucas-Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Woodard?
Yes.
Mayor Glover?
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Council members, do you have any other items to submit?
Yes.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Barnes, you have the floor, sir.
I have a couple. First, Mayor, I want to start off with a couple of consensus that I want to look into to see what we can get from council. The first one is regarding boards and commissions. We talked about earlier about paying boards and commissions, EDA, PPIC, Portsmouth Parks and Rec, Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing, and it was one more.
Planning,
It was.
is it the planning commission?
We've already voted on that item, sir?
No, was it the planning?
I'm
commission?
bringing back to the table.
No,
It's to move forward to vote. We asked for a consensus regarding, but we didn't move forward to vote on the actual issue.
Mr. City Attorney, could you please address that?
I think we did have a vote on it, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was a consensus.
No, I'm pretty sure it was a vote.
It was a vote.
It was a
but
vote.
Yeah,
it was
to
a vote.
deny paying those individuals, and you can't bring something back unless you have 5 people who come forward to oppose it within 3 months. Now, after 3 months, which has not expired yet, you can bring it back. But right now, under the city code, you can't bring that back unless 5 people decide to vote the other way. I've got the code section here somewhere.
It was a consensus.
It was a vote.
I don't remember it being a vote. We didn't come into the meeting. We asked for a consensus to move forward to vote on it.
Well,
I'd have to check. I seen
That was in a
the
work session.
Just look into the matter and get back to us, please.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the minutes from,
Your next item, sir?
My next item is regarding the presentation that we had earlier regarding the crime prevention programs. As I said, we wanted to do something bold as it deal with the crime prevention. So I was asking that we get a consensus of $3 million to go directly into Portsmouth organizations as it pertains to dealing with the crime issues and things of that nature, and also with providing job opportunities for our youth, 16 to 18. And I wanted to get a consensus regarding that from council so we can let the city manager move forward with developing a strategy and a plan.
Is there any discussion from my colleagues on council pertaining to this matter? Councilmember Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
And I just want to be clear, Vice Mayor, where are these funds coming from again?
From the American Rescue Act.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor, and then Councilmember Moody, sir.
Yes, during our previous meeting in the public work session, the presentation that was given by Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Terry, I mentioned that we have to make sure as council that we stay focused on the root causes and also that we address policies. What Vice Mayor Barnes is doing, I commend because he is putting forward some specifics. Now, how we address that as a consensus moving forward, I would think our city manager would come back to us with what those funds would be. In that regard, I did prepare, and I want to submit it as part of the record. I think that we have heard significantly from the public in regards to the crime issue, how funds should be used, and I think that we do need to put forward some guidance as far as what the council would like to see coming back from these bold initiatives. And so I would like to make this part of the record, and I'm going to give each council member a copy. And that is, if there's no objection from council, that we direct our city manager to consider the following as we decide how the American Rescue Plan funds and other state funds will be used. And that is funding community-based organizations for crime prevention, which is what Vice Mayor Barnes has mentioned. And so we've heard from the community. I think that we have to go outside of the box, and we have to fund organizations that are working directly in our community. And I would hope we can get a report back on how that would look funding-wise. Vice Mayor Barnes mentioned $3 million. I would like to see the feasibility of us actually putting that in place with some actual dollars to support those organizations. The second point I have up here, providing direct payments as a form of guaranteed income, which traditionally has been called universal basic income for residents living below the poverty line. As stated in our report, 16.8% of Portsmouth residents live under the poverty line. There are cities around the nation that are addressing this issue with direct payments. It's not a unique issue. It's something that Dr. King even raised, that to address the poverty issue, there needs to be a guaranteed income. And so direct payments as a form of guaranteed income to residents living below the poverty line. How that would look, that would be based on discussion and council's consensus. Giving real estate tax relief for senior residents as part of the relief fund. Some of these seniors are taking care of two generations, the grandchildren and their children, and that type of relief is needed. Need to have, to prevent eviction assistance, as has been brought up to our attention, and we know that this is something that many people are facing. Providing housing assistance for the homeless, funding nonprofit religious organizations for before and after school programming, and expanding mental health assistance. As we look to vote on policies that address poverty, if there's a consensus from council, I would like for our city manager to report back to us on these areas of how funding can be allocated, if there's no objection from council.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Moody, would you please, you have the floor.
I don't object to the city manager getting back with us. I always welcome that. I do have a problem with council making a snap decision on spending $3 million to organizations that I don't know what organizations you're talking about. I don't know what their history of providing assistance to the community is. I would think our citizens would demand that we make sure that anybody that we're giving funds to, that those organizations are well-known and documented as to their mission in helping citizens of our city. The other thing, I don't know that this CARES money can be spent on salaries. We're talking about putting people on an income. I don't believe, and I guess this could be part of the report back. I don't believe that reoccurring expenses is part of the deal with that money. There are some strings attached to it. I commend my colleagues. Their hearts are certainly in the right place, but it's no way that I'm going to sit here and approve the expenditure of $3 million and not know what organizations it's going to. We would all deserve to be fired if we did that. That would not be good governance.
Thank you, sir. Did you have your hand up first? Because
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm going to recognize her, Councilwoman Lucasberg, because she hasn't had an opportunity to speak. Then I'll recognize the other members.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have heard from my colleagues, and I believe that we do need to make some action to be able to help our citizens in this aspect. And this list, I believe some of these we already have assistance for on the list, Dr. Whitaker, and I agree with, us looking into some of the other opportunities as well. We, as a council, would have to determine how much funding we would allocate and which groups. I do agree that we need to definitely scrutinize and look at the organizations that we would be providing funding to make sure that they are aligned with appropriate licensing and whatever else is needed to be an entity or agency in the city. So I would be on board with some of these, and of course, the funding amount would have to be determined by council. I can't go and approve funding that, because I know as a member of the Virginia First Cities and that ARPA fund, we do have to be accountable to how we allocate those, and there are some specific guidelines on how we disperse that funding as well, specifically with our Virginia First Cities members, executive committee who came here, of which I am a member of the executive committee. So I do want to be in alignment with how we do that appropriately. But I do like some of the things on the list. Other information that I want to announce to our citizens is our Sunset Thursdays have been going over very well. We've had over 4,000 attendees at each event, and for the month of August coming up, Champagne Band will be on August 12th. They're playing soul, blues, and old school. And again, before we meet again, on August 19th, the Tidewater Drive Band, jazz, R&B, and reggae. There will also be a COVID-19 vaccine clinic that will be held in the city at the Portsmouth Health Department on August 12th between 11 and 5:30. These are free vaccines, and it'll be the Pfizer vaccine. And then also on, I believe it is August 28th, we won't meet again before you hear this information, Portsmouth Parks and Recreation, back-to-school event will be at the Portsmouth City Park from 12 to 4. We brought back our neighborhood incentive matching grant program. The application process opens on Monday, August the 23rd, and the deadline will be Friday, September 24th. And we had some very good participation with that last year. Our notice of awards will be held on our October 5th, on Tuesday, October 5th. We also have some concerts that's going to be coming up, the Portsmouth Community Concerts. You can enjoy the excitement of the performances during the 83rd season for this year, starting up with the Diamonds, going all the way through the season to the voices of Sapphire. Also, Churchland High School Auditorium has been renovated. We did hear from our city engineer and got some updates on that. But there's going to be a Les Rock Broadway starring the Diamonds, and that's going to be one of the Portsmouth community concert bands that will be, groups that will be playing. Also, a favorite that has been around our farmers market, if you're looking for fresh fruits and vegetables and other items, it is now on through December 18th, and it'll be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Portsmouth Art and Cultural Center at Court and High Streets. And you can visit us online for any updates or more details on any of this information. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. And Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, to move us back on the path that we were discussing involving the funds, I think that this is a very serious issue that we need to make sure that we don't put misinformation. What I'm requesting does not mean that we make a snap decision tonight. There was nothing mentioned that we have to approve funding tonight. That's not even possible. What I'm requesting and what this document represents is just some guidance as far as what, if it's a consensus of council, for the city manager to address. The funding community-based organizations for crime intervention, that's not asking for $3 million tonight. that's asking the city manager to come back after collaboration with staff and, to give us what may be some figures that can be, it may be 3, I don't know. The real estate tax relief, it has seniors up here, but it's a consideration. Also, we have stipulations right now on who can get that tax relief. I don't know, maybe we can reduce those criteria to expand it further. And same with our mental health expanding. And so just want council to make sure that the purpose of this is to just give some direction so that we can get some things moving in place to address what our citizens have been coming here for the past, 3 meetings, raising legitimate issues that we need to put some money behind. And we want to make sure that it's not going on deaf ears.
Thank you, sir. And Madam City Manager, I'm going to ask that you take the floor now. You have been asking for it, and then I'll go to Mr. Moody and Vice Mayor Barnes.
Yes, I just wanted to speak to the report back. First and foremost, what we're putting together is a list of all the funding that is available, the requirements of those funds, so we will definitely reflect whether these items meet the requirements or not. The other piece of that is the state passed additional funding. We will be doing a table that looks at all the additional funding where the city of Portsmouth falls within those funding to see if any of these items are addressed, and then we will bring back a recommendation to the council to consider based on all of those review processes that we currently have in place.
Right. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Barnes, sir, you have the floor.
Just to get back to the same subject, I just want the public to make sure that you guys see that, everybody said they care about crime, but when it comes to dealing with the crime, you see how quick the topic change. With that being said, as far as, and Councilman Whitaker addressed it a little bit, but as far as when it came to the organizations, nobody said we were just going to throw money out to organizations.
Right.
We also said earlier, and I said it earlier, about nonprofits, things of that nature. I didn't say we just going to give money to anybody just walking around. I think it's important that we go with the mayor's slogan. We take a bold new direction with dealing with the crime in our city. It's very important that we stop being about all the talk and really actually deal with those issues that plague our community. Because as I said earlier, we've lost more youth in this city than we've had quality businesses in this city. So I'm tired of that happening. I'm tired of losing our kids. I'm tired of losing people. Somebody just got killed last night. And while we continue to take our time with doing certain things and addressing these issues, there's people still dying. So with that being said, I actually pulled mine back because I really like what Councilman Whitaker said as far as all of these things, and I would like to see council actually do these things. And if the mindset is that we really want to take a serious approach with what's going on in our city, I think this right here takes a stab at that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moody, sir, you have the floor.
I just wanted to thank our city manager. I believe at the last meeting, she indicated that she would get back with us on a plan to spend the CARES money in the community, and also what the parameters were, as in strings attached to the money and the accountability involved. Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Ms. Mayor.
Councilmember Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, also in the report back, Madam City Manager, I just wanted to know, could we get some parameters or some guidelines, an outline of what these grassroots organizations would need to do, or what type of certifications they would need to have in order to qualify to get this this funding? It's a lot of information out there, and sometimes things can get misconstrued when you're trying to initially do the right thing, just do the right thing for the community. So I don't know if we can all get together, or you can report back to us along with this information, what we can do with this funding, but also the guidelines as well that can help out the organizations who don't know the extensive, just paperwork or whatnot you have to have.
Madam City Manager, you have the floor.
Yes, based on the fact that we're trying to do community engagement, I would not sit here and state that we could have guidelines that are going to meet the needs of this community. But what we will have are measures and metrics as we presented in our presentation to define how that's addressing our issues and how we can move forward with making a difference towards addressing crime or whatever initiative that we're trying to do. So we will work with the community groups in establishing that criteria, but one thing be sure of, we will have measures and metrics to define how we're going to track and account for those resources.
But there are requirements you need from these groups, and that's what I'm saying. If that could be public, or that could be outlined for them,
Yeah.
so they can know what they have to bring, what to bring to the table.
Correct. And part of that, we will look at the neighborhood matching grants program and use some of that criteria. But we want to leave some of it open as we work towards getting to the end result. But we will look at that as a guide for how we define the criteria.
All right, thank you.
Dr. Whitaker, sir,
Right,
you have the floor.
Right, and so as we moved in that direction of funding these organizations, I think, once again, just to make sure that people don't think this is just something sporadic, it's going to be just like any other. You have to have criteria, application, reviewed. It's nothing different.
Absolutely.
So all of this notion of just giving it away, that's not the intent
No.
or purpose. And so also in that regard, since it is something new, we would hope that these organizations would have some type of training opportunity, meeting before they submit applications, so that they are aware of the process, because this will be a new process for some of these organizations. And so hope that is in place as well.
It is, and actually, we're already having those discussions with various community members, and we're partnering with other stakeholders in the community to gather some of that information. Those conversations are already underway.
All right, all right.
Vice Mayor Barnes, you have the floor, sir.
I just want to make sure, as I said earlier, that certain organizations aren't the only ones that's being included, that we actually include those in the communities that are being affected, the ones that stay in these communities, the ones that's scared, the ones that don't want to come outside or don't want to send their kids outside, because a lot of the times, again, we talk in a room about people and fixing their issues without actually talking to the people to find out what their issues and how we can fix them. Also, me, I'm a time person. I like to ask for a timeline. Councilman Whitaker on here said he wanted this by the next work session. So that's a month from now. We'll be able to get that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Lucas-Burke.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I can appreciate all of the comments that has come from my colleagues today, but I don't appreciate the fact that anything that one council member presents is being belittled or is inefficient or is not important. It was not my intent to get away from the crime subject, because it is first and foremost on my heart and pretty much a priority that we should be focusing on. But this city runs on other things too. Our citizens are interested in the crime. They're interested in the Sunset Thursdays. They're interested in the neighborhood matching grant program. They are interested in other things as well. So it was not my intent to belittle any conversation or to get off topic, but it was also to include some other things that people in the city also would be interested in hearing. And of course, the neighborhood grant was a way for us to get funding to these neighborhoods to provide some assistance for some of the crime that is going on in the community. So the information is given to me to share with our citizens, and I'm on board with us addressing the crime issue, but there are also other things that we need to address as a council as well.
Thank you, Ms. Lucas Burke. And if I could just add to, sir, just let, I have the floor right now, and then I'll recognize you, okay? And that's going to be our last question on this, because we have to move the discussion on. But what I want to say to what Councilwoman Lucas Burke said, just to kind of inform everyone, under this item, under our agenda, it's items submitted by council. So those are any items that a council member chooses to submit in addition to what we're already discussing. So under this particular caption, she has every role and responsibility in the role that she plays to submit the items submitted under council or by council, and those items that she did submit are appropriate under that caption, just to let everybody know. And the other thing that I want to convey to everybody out here, those of you who know me or who do not know me, I have been working in this community for over 20 years in a lot of different areas, helping a lot of people. And I don't say that because I want you to pat me on the back. My mama raised 6 kids. I come from public housing. I was the first one to go to college, okay? The reality is, as I shared with you all, we all up here want to improve the quality of life for our citizens, and there is no one up here that believes in that more than I do. Now, we can differ in opinion and differ on process, but one thing I want to be very clear to everybody out there. I know we have our colleagues, some of them want to speak about how we don't care about people up here, but as I said earlier, I believe that everyone up here on this dais cares about what happens in our community, cares about every child that loses their life, cares about every human being that can't reach their full potential. And you know what? All of this talk about just talk, if anybody want to sit down and talk to me personally and see what I've done in this community, then we can talk about it. And then I can show you. So it's not about me at the end of the day, it's about you. And it's about us working together to improve the quality of life. So this nonsense that people keep talking and putting one against the other, that's not going to work here. It's going to be one city, one unity, yes, and we are moving in that bold new direction. But it's going to take all of us together, working together, struggling together, doing the heavy lifting together to reach the goal that we want to achieve. And I'm proud to say that we have a city manager in this city and a city staff that has been working extremely hard. I'm not speaking about the past. I'm speaking about the future. And I know when I talk to the folks that are doing the work in our city, whether it's be on the city staff side or the folks in the community, our future is bright, Joe. And what I'm going to say to you is, let's stay together on this matter. Let's work together. And then let's see where we all end up together. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, they say when you throw a rock into a pile of dogs, the one that hollers, the one that got hit. With that being said, I mean, if we want to touch on it, it's a lot of council members up here that was here when the crime issue started and nothing was being addressed. But all you always hear is a bunch of talk all the time, no policies. But when it comes to people putting things forward, there's always people talking against the things that went forward. But when in the past, when we've had these issues, because this didn't start yesterday, it didn't start in 2021. This started a long time ago, specifically with the children. It started in 2016. And some members were on council. So it's hard to believe that we're all one and all together when actions don't show that. And we weren't elected together. So with that being said, we were elected for our personal ideas and the personal things that we want to do. We always say everybody has agendas, right? Everybody has agenda. If you're a politician without agenda, then you don't need to be in office. Because your agenda is why people vote for you and why people respect you and why people believe in what you're doing. And what you're supposed to do is find people who go with that agenda. You find them and try to get those people to help pass that agenda. So with that being said, man, I appreciate the words that you said, but let's move towards that action. Every time just saying that we care is not enough. We actually got to show that action. And whenever people try to show action, we get threatened to get kicked out of the meeting and things of that nature. So I'm asking to show that action, to really deal with these issues, because this crime issue is not just important, it's very concerning to me, and it actually affected me. I told you, I lost my 12-year-old cousin in 2018, and I came to council in 2017 and asked to do something. I told you this was going to happen. Unfortunately, we live in a city right now that when somebody gets shot and killed, everybody just immune to it. Why are we immune to it if we have a council that cared a long time ago? That's all I have. Oh, on a positive note, I went to the Portsmouth Public Schools retreat Saturday. It was a good retreat. They discussed a lot of things. One of the issues that they discussed was regarding masks for children. Portsmouth Public Schools is going to be required to have masks when they go back to school. And also they talked about the gang violence and how they're going to deal with the gang violence. And I'm happy to see that they actually have a plan and been moving forward towards it. Today, I'll mention this. We went to a swearing-in ceremony for the police. Mayor Shannon Glover, Councilman Bill Moody, and Councilman Chris Woodard was there. And we swore in 6 new police officers. So I'm very happy about that. And today I was at IC Norcom High School. They have a freshman and sophomore orientation for the entire school district. That's Churchland Manor, and of course Norcom. I was actually the guest speaker today. So I was actually excited to go back to my old school and give them a couple of words. And one of the things I like to do, especially when I'm talking to kids, one, I like to definitely not write anything. Secondly, what I like to do is talk to them and let them talk to me and ask them questions. So we got a couple of suggestions that they would like council to do as far as dealing with the crime in this city. Again, like I said earlier, too often we always try to tell them what we want to do for them. However, we never include them in the conversation. So with that being said, I know we have a youth board commission. Ms. White, that is the youth commission, correct?
The Portsmouth Coalition for Youth.
It's the Youth Advisory Commission.
Yeah, the Youth Advisory Commission. If possible, I would like to work with the school system to identify some children to appoint people to that board, me and Dr. Whitaker. So if we can look into that, getting with them so we can start getting them and learning the issues that they see in the community and kind of try to deal with the issues that way as well. And I am done.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other items submitted by council?
I missed one, Mayor, I'm sorry. National Night Out. I was able to attend a couple of national night outs. Luxley, Civic League, the St. Mark Deliverance Center is a church, and the other one was West Winds. And I was actually, they had a dunk tank, and I was actually in it. I actually thought some of you guys was gonna come out and get me because that's your chance. But other than that, there's a lot of positive things going on in our city with all the events. Also, shout out to the organizations that did the community days. We had, there's a group of organizations, I'm not gonna name them because I don't wanna leave anybody out, but they had a community day in Dale Holmes, Southside, London Oaks, and then there was also an event Friday, Give Back to the Block. They had an event and there's a bunch of events coming up. I post them on my page and my story, so if you want to go look and find out about those events, if you have an event that you want me to post, just send it to me and I'll take care of that for you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moody, did you have a comment you wanted to make, sir?
Yes, yes.
You have the floor, sir.
As the council liaison to the Military Affairs Committee, I accompanied Irv Lindley, the chairman, this week to the Coast Guard base to, many of you may know, on August the 4th, it was the 231st anniversary of the United States Coast Guard. And so Irv and myself went there, among other things, to extend happy birthday wishes to Captain Dewey. And Captain Dewey is very receptive to further fostering the relationship and the partnership with our city. And in fact, he's extended the invitation to come to either a work session or a council meeting to share with the public and the council on activities going on at the Coast Guard base that have an impact on our city. So that was a very positive meeting, Mayor. As to my colleague, I am sorry I missed that dunk tank opportunity, especially following your comment that nobody up here cares when a child or anybody in this city gets killed. That's an awful, disgraceful comment, sir. And that is below the dignity of someone who's a vice mayor of this city to make a comment to this council or to the public that somebody is indifferent when somebody gets gunned down on the streets of this city. And I would expect better of you. Unfortunately, my vote puts you in that position, but I guarantee you one damn thing, it won't happen again if I get an opportunity to vote.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Barnes, you have the floor, sir.
I think you should have took your chance when I was in the duck tank. But with that being said, I'll say it again and again. Actions speak louder than words. Too often we just really say what we want to do, but I want to see the action.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Battle, sir, you have the floor. Okay, I saw you raise your hand, sir, so I wanted to recognize you. So, the next topic is, sir, City Manager report. Do you have any pending items, ma'am? Thank you. Our next item, 21-250, is non-agenda speakers. And we do have a list of speakers. And Madam Clerk, would you remind our speakers of the speaker rule?
City Council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comment.
Thank you, ma'am. And Madam Clerk, would you call our first speaker?
Mr. Barry Randall.
Welcome, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening again, Barry Randall. I'm not going to be before you long. And I know I told you guys last time I wasn't going to be addressing you guys directly, but what I've heard tonight, Dr. Whitaker, thank you for what you're doing, especially with you talking policy. I was going to give you a call, but with what I've heard tonight, it kind of, gives me some hope that you guys really do, or at least trying to do something. Councilwoman Lisa Lucas Burke, we know you care because you experienced firsthand with, I don't know if some of the citizens know, but you had someone drive their vehicle in your yard and try to attack you. So we know you care. I just think that with everything that's happening, there's so much division. So I'm here to offer a leaf tonight because if you remember, Mayor Glover, about 2 years ago, I took you on a road trip with the sheriff. And I showed you every house where the drugs were being sold and everything because the citizens are calling. I just got out of a meeting earlier today with a new homeowner in our community who had some concerns. I believe some of you all, with Councilman Battle, went out to Prentice Park a couple of weeks ago with a gentleman who called me with Duckett and Ed Brown and so many others about just trying to do something in that particular community. We see Councilman Woodard, we see Vice Mayor Barnes, and so many others always out and about. So whether we like each other personally or not, I think that at some point we have to put that to the side because what is happening, and it is very important that the citizens pay close attention because we're acting like gangs. If I say something against you, that means I don't like you. And that's far from the truth because we're more mature than that. Anybody know, and this is just my personal opinion, don't y'all stone me for it, but I think that Councilman Battle is one of the most brilliant minds on council. Anybody that knows Vice Mayor Barnes and I, we're going to ride till the wheels fall off. That's my dude. But we don't fall out because we disagree with each other. I mean, if you look tonight, Miss Deborah White, I mean, what would you guys do without her? She has to school you, educate you, tell you that a yes mean a no mean a yes. And my guys voted against her not getting a raise. And I had a problem with that. But that didn't make us fall out. We didn't, I don't like you, what have you. But the problem is if we criticize some of you guys, then there's, we don't talk to them. We don't go to their events. We don't do this. We don't do that. And that's why, as I think the Vice Mayor said, the chickens are coming home to roost because, let's be honest, we're just a little smarter than some of the criminals in the street. But if we thought for 1 minute that we could shoot each other or hurt each other and get away with it, we would do it because our action shows it, the way we're talking to each other. And that's why I try to tell a lot of the activists and stuff. James Overton, he taught me something 8 years ago. Because you all know I've been in this community for a long time doing a lot. And I was doing something one time and I was saying, I'm doing this and we did this and we did that. And James Overton said, young man, do you not know who my father is? Judge so and so. He said, young man, do you not know that at that time, Mark Whitaker was fighting against this? Do you not know we did this and we did that? It was one of the most humbling experiences that I had ever faced in my life. Because with me out there doing this and me doing that, I thought it was what I was doing and what I was doing. So now I'm watching people and now everyone is coming around talking about what they're doing. And we have this mentality of I. But in the meantime, what's happening? People are dying in the streets. Deputy City Manager LaVorce Pace has always taken every phone call I've ever given him. I reached out to him 6-7 months ago, shared some things. He said, I'm going to get in touch with Chief Burke. And I'm sure Chief Burke probably got busy, but never heard anything back. The head can't go no higher than the tail. And if you all want to, we say the police not doing this and this not doing that. Well, if they don't see that you all care, if community leaders don't see that you all care, and if we can't criticize each other without really, and this is not going to take me down from not criticizing you guys anymore, but Mayor Glover, I apologize to you for my last comment the last time about the good boy, because that was out of line. Emotional. People died. The night before, someone died. We're here tonight, and last night, someone died. So at the end of the day, we need to come together and figure out whether we agree or not, we got to do better for our city.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Donald Everett. Mr. Everett, would you come forth, please, sir? Thank you for coming, and sir, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. Thank you for the opportunity here. I'm here tonight because I want to address a concern. I think it's been a concern of most citizens of this city, at least in the black community anyway, and that is the state of Lincoln Memorial Cemetery. Now, I know that you have gone past, and we've all been down Deep Creek Boulevard, and we've had a tendency to look over. And it's just really, it's not a good look for the city. It's not a good look for the community. It's not a good look for any of us because of the fact that we all share a part in here, and what is detrimental to one is detrimental to everybody. And we see that. There's potholes, that when it rains, you can't go to attend to the needs of the loved ones that are there. There was trees that was cut, and those trees now have become debris on the side of the road, so much so that if you're pulling out of the cemetery into the road, it is a blockage, and you can't even see there. So now it becomes a hazard. There's broken headstones. The grass and the weeds now have grown up beyond the headstones. And so I know that it's visible. I went on a site the other day and it said the sinking of Lincoln Memorial Cemetery. And it was a pictorial. It wasn't any words, but they were worth 10,000 words to see the state. And everybody now, because it's on YouTube, so everybody sees it. And I believe that the city, now my understanding is that the city doesn't have jurisdiction, but they certainly have oversight. And they certainly can deem it necessary to go in to see how we can rectify that situation, how we can make it better, how we can bring it up to par so that it looks like the other cemeteries in the city. This is one of our oldest and most sacred relics of how we rest those who have passed on and the condition that it has to be in. And I'm sure that some of those probably were trailblazers in this city. And now they have succumbed to now the state of what our cemetery looks like now. So I have pictures here, but I don't have them to put up, but I'm sure that you've seen those. So I'm appealing now to this group, to this city council, to this mayor, to this vice mayor, that we do more now. You said something about taking action. It's time now to take action. This that I saw based on the YouTube was in 2018, and the conditions have not changed. So I'm asking now that we do something, that we put action to work, and now we actually address the needs of this cemetery. And we do it now, I would hope, in a timely manner, that it would not wait another 2 years till someone else puts it on YouTube, that they show Portsmouth, Virginia in that light, while they show all the other good that you've done. This has cast a dark shadow on Portsmouth as a whole, I believe. So with that, I say thank you for the time. Thank you for the opportunity to address this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Everett and Dr. Whitaker, sir.
Yes, thank you, Reverend Everett, for bringing and raising the issue. Elections have consequences. This issue was raised several years ago, and there was no action. I think the question that the community needs to ask is, why is Lincoln Cemetery, Fisherville, Mount Calvary, why are they in the condition that they're in versus Grove Park Cemetery is in immaculate condition? As we know, we don't like to deal with racism in this city. When you raise it, then you cause division when the division was already there. Grove Park Cemetery is city-owned. tax dollars supported, that was presented to us as a council. We know who's buried in Grove Park. Confederate soldiers, American Revolution. Our ancestors were not buried in Grove Park. They had to be buried in private cemeteries because of racism. And so I think that the issue that you are raising is one that this council needs to address. And I would hope that if there's no objection from council, that we direct our city manager to report back to us. I realize that it is privately owned, but I believe that it's a situation that it's disgraceful that our ancestors are in those type of conditions. My grandparents are there. I have cousins, aunts, and we're in a position now as an elected body to address it. Other councils did not address the inequity. And that's something that I have been raising about inequities. Lincoln Cemetery, Fisherville, Mount Calvary are just microcosms of the neglect that has occurred within the African American community in this city. And what you're seeing happening and the crime, all of that is neglect. And so if we don't address it with what we have on council now, it's not going to be addressed. And so I hope that when we put people on council who's supposed to be conscious and aware, that they are not afraid to deal with issues of inequity. And regardless of the consequences, because we know folks going to come at you when you deal with it, we got to do the right thing. And so I'm hoping that we have a consensus on council to, if there's no objection, to direct our city manager. We have all this influx of money coming in. It's interesting when other folks have the money, they get things done. But when it comes to addressing our issues, it costs too much, and we got to make sure that these groups are in line. But that hasn't been the case in the past. When the Sports Hall of Fame was funded, they never even gave a financial report to us.
Thank you.
And so I'm saying if there's no objection from council, it's time for us to correct inequities and stop being afraid to address the racism in this city that has been here, and you can't close your eyes to it. And I'm not afraid to raise it, and I hope that our council will be bold and move in a new direction.
Thank you, Dr. Whitaker. So just so we can, I'll recognize you all, but I want to address the concern. I want to address the concern about what Dr. Whitaker said, because I think it's important. We know that there has been a history of inequity in our community, and those things need to be remedied. One example was, as Dr. Whitaker indicated, Mount Calvary Cemetery was not at one time where Ida Barber is buried, where I.C. Norcom is buried. That was not a city-owned cemetery. And through the efforts of the African American Historical Society and others in the community, a collaborative effort, not just blacks in the community, other people in the community, that community was recognized, and it is now a city-owned cemetery, Mount Calvary. That's one example. I can't say to you that all the things that have been done are going to be erased overnight, but we are conscious, and we understand that we have a responsibility to the legacy. And to you, Pastor Everett, I will share with you my personal experience. Sir, I did drive by that cemetery last week, and the city manager can vouch to it. And the first call that I made after I drove by, I shared with the city manager, this cannot continue. We do not own that cemetery today. Now, some may argue, well, you know, we've got the money, but there's legal implications. You just can't come over and take a person's property and do what you want to do with it. That's the truth. And so what we're trying to do is, with our legal team, is to find a way to remedy that. In the short term, we're going to get somebody to cut the grass. And we're going to hold the owner of the property accountable to the degree that we can. And there may be an opportunity where we can take over that cemetery as a municipality. I don't know if that exists, but we're going to look at all the options because we understand. We understand. For me, this is not about my consciousness necessarily. It's about recognizing our ancestors and people that paid the ultimate opportunity to live and work in this community and gave their all and are buried there. Dr. Whitaker's family members and others, our councilwoman's family members, our vice mayor's family members. So we recognize these things. And I just don't want people to believe or think that we are not conscious, that we don't care, that we do care. And we are going to work collaboratively, and our manager is working on that issue. So what I would say to you, sir, thank you for bringing that to our attention, and continue to be responsive in letting us know where we fall short so that we can improve. And we're going to work on that. I can't make any promises today, but we're going to do better at Lincoln Cemetery. Council Member Battle.
Recently, we were in communication with the owners. And we were in communications with the owners recently, and we were going back and forth, and we were trying to get them to clean the place up. And the essence is this. We need to get them a letter out that they're to straighten that place out in 10 days, or we're gonna do it. And then we need to continue litigations that will let them know that they need to keep the cemetery up to par, or we're gonna take it. So now, I have parents there, and I'm embarrassed at myself. I've seen it, and again, we were in litigations back and forth with them a couple of years ago. In some kind of way, I don't know who they know or what they know, the litigation situation dropped. But we need to get that letter out because I'm totally embarrassed and upset. If they don't do it in 10 days, I'd love to have a consensus on that because that's an atrocious situation and it looks like a dump area, a city dump area where you pay to carry trash. And that's terrible. So please give me a consensus so we can get that letter out for 10 days for them to straighten that cemetery out or start straightening it out, or we'll do it.
Madam City Manager, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you. To Councilman Battle's point, we've already initiated that 10-day letter. We are actually hired a contractor to go and take care of that property. Unfortunately, what I see, this has been an ongoing issue where we have private property owners that neglect to maintain their properties. We issue citations, we issue violations, we then turn around and go and take care of it with taxpayer dollars, and it continues on and on. This is not just germane to commercial properties, but we also have absentee landlords, property owners, et cetera, where we have blighted facilities, and we continue to cite. I'm working with the city attorney's office to see how we can elevate that from just citing and having this vicious circle over and over. There has to be other actions that we can take. We are using every opportunity within our legal realms and within the code, but we need to do more. And so to that point, the short term, yes, we are addressing it, but we need a long-term solution.
Vice Mayor Barnes, sir, you have the floor.
I want to let the city manager know I appreciate what you said because not kind of what going back to what Councilman Whitaker said when it comes to the African American community and the things in the community, it seems like it does take a long, very long time to deal with some of the issues. If you drive just down the street by the 7-Eleven with the white building, that's been a plight in the black community for years. You make a left on Portsmouth Boulevard, same thing. But one of the things I noticed when I was canvassing and running for office, I remember being in Prentice Park, and I was canvassing, walking down the street on Charleston, and I seen a house with a hole in the roof. And those are the things that attract crime. But all of the neighborhoods that I went to that was in the other communities, in the white community, I never saw anything like that. So it seems like it's a bigger issue when it comes to dealing with things that deal with the African American community. And I think we really need to address those immediately. This grave site, and along with a lot of others. But to go back to the grave site, my dad is buried in that grave site. He was a military veteran, and like I said, he's there. We buried him when I was a kid in high school. And I actually stay not too far from there, so I literally go past it on a regular basis. Before the mayor seen it and some of the others, I actually came to the city manager about maybe 2 months ago regarding it, and then the community actually came out to kind of address some of the issues with that, cutting down the trees and just cleaning it up in general. But I'm with my fellow council people. I think we really need to address that issue, but also address these other issues when it comes to blight in our community, because it's really saddening when you walk through Prentice Park and see a hole in the roof and it's just there and nobody's dealing with it. So I would like to see what we can do regarding taking these properties from these people so that we can kind of address those issues and kind of get our neighborhoods, well, not kind of, we need to get our neighborhoods back up to standard, especially because that's a part of addressing the crime issue. Is a theory called the broken windows theory. You see a broken window, that's more likely to attract crime. If you see a hole in the roof in Prentice Park, then you're probably going to attract some crime. So I would like to see what we can do from a larger standpoint as far as addressing those blighted areas. And I actually took the city manager on a tour of the city, and I was able to show her some of the areas where we need to address. So I am looking forward to that. So not only can we hear in the next meeting regarding the grave site, but also regarding those things as well, if no objection from council.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is to the city attorney. Doesn't the state, the Commonwealth of Virginia, have some oversight of the ownership that's neglecting cemetery? Well, if there are, we need to pursue them.
What's been done so far is 10-day letters going out a couple times to that private cemetery. If it's not corrected after 10 days, and this is through the building official, if it's not corrected in 10 days, we have the right to hire a contractor to go and cut the grass ourselves and then bill the owner, which I understand is a church now, is the new owner. It's hard to get that money back, but that's what's being done right now. I'll check to see any state code regulations that might apply, and we're looking at what the next step, what can we do further than just send out a 10-day notice, then go cut the grass, build the church, and then the process starts all over again.
Yeah, and that's normal code enforcement.
That is it, right.
But this is a cemetery where, people are buried there. I know modern cemeteries have perpetual care funds. Did that cemetery have such a fund?
I'm not positive. I'll check that.
Well, and that's some of the stuff we need to check into.
We'll report back next meeting with our plan of action, and we'll move forward with it.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Let me
Dr.
make
Whitaker, you have the floor.
Let me make sure I'm clear on this. The issue I'm raising is not a grass cutting issue.
Yeah, we understand.
Right. It's the total maintenance, overall addressing the condition of that,
We'll see
cemetery.
what we can do.
Just like we keep up Grove Park, we need to come up with a strategy of how we're going to address those cemeteries.
It's a little more difficult when it's a private entity.
I
that
know
owns
it is.
And so
I know it is,
we'll see
but
the options.
let's move of a mindset of trying to make this thing happen
Sure.
because it's been there too long.
Okay. I'll report back with the options that we have, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, sir.
And they never responded. Let the autonomic system kick in
Right, and that's what we do.
and go and cut it.
Yeah, that's what we do. And there's a contractor that's scheduled to go out there in the next few days.
Go ahead, sir. Vice Mayor Barnes, you have the floor.
I guess the question is after the 10-day letter is sent out, and they haven't done what they're supposed to do, and I agree, it's not just about cutting grass, it's about the full maintenance. The only option that we take care of it and then build them, or can we go, because I think at this point, whatever the extreme is, we need to go to the extreme right now, because they've obviously shown that they don't care, they're not going to do anything regarding it, they're not going to fix it. So whatever the extreme is, I think we need to go and do that instead of just continue to send them 10-day letters over and go and taking care, because if we're not going to do anything else, I'll keep taking the 10-day letters too.
Right, I'll report back with our options.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Miss Katherine Howell. Ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Hello. So I think I'm going to do something different. I'm going to ask some questions, and you can respond at the end if you choose. My first one is, why is it that last summer, when the Confederate statue issue went on, you guys were able to get a meeting within a few days and funds for a fence, but we have thousands of people getting ready to be homeless, and we haven't had a meeting or an emergency working session, to my knowledge, to address that. My next question is, how many individuals are currently experiencing homelessness in Portsmouth? Do you guys know? Okay. How many people can your shelters that you currently have serve? Are you guys polling to see how many people are housing insecure or about to be evicted? How long is it going to take to build and get this new shelter operational? Is it going to be by September when the eviction moratorium is up? I doubt it. You said that earlier today in the working session or in this public hearing that you were going to be, I guess, acquiring Park Shelter, and if it's my understanding, that's the one by Dale Homes, is that correct? Okay, and then are you guys going to be just acquiring land ownership or management? Is the city going to be managing that shelter now instead of Park? I guess my other thing is, have you guys considered having a regional meeting to address these housing issues? My next one is, I guess my next question kind of is just more broad. Like, we have gun violence, that's absolutely imperative to address. We're working on that. But housing is absolutely part of gun violence and crime and housing insecurity and all of this other stuff. And as I said at the last meeting, there are currently individuals experiencing homelessness who are in tent camps in various places around Portsmouth. When thousands of people become unhoused, you're going to have more tent camps. And so all of these like empty lots, they're going to have tents. People are going to go where there's space. And going to the gun violence, you are going to set up a mass casualty situation. So as of right now, the moratorium on evictions has been extended 2 months. So I ask you, in that 2 months, can we please have working meetings with the community as well, where we can actually have a dialogue, a back and forth, instead of us just talking at you and maybe once every 15 people you guys say something back. Because I feel like being up here talking and looking at your faces, maybe you want to go home, maybe you're tired, maybe you don't like me, I don't care. But I think as a community, what we want to kind of see is more of an interactive, a dialogue. Because if we ask questions and get a response, I think that will go a long way for building trust and for being able to create solutions to actually together. Yes.
Mr. Battle, hold on a second. In the interest of time, all of the questions that you have written down, you can present them to our manager, and we will go through those questions individually. But we have many more speakers that are coming up, so it would be most appropriate for you to put those questions together and get with the manager upon leaving, okay? Mr. Battle, sir, you have the floor.
Well, first of all, we have 206 registered homeless people. Second of all, the moratorium has been extended, and that's a federal issue because the federal government put the hold on the evictions, and the federal judicial system decided to allow the evictions. So that's something that we don't have but we can surely meet and figure out some alternative plans and make some communications with those folk that own the places and come to a happy medium. We have several programs that are in place to try to counteract the killings in our city. We are thinking about you being a part of one of those programs. So that's what I know. The rest of it she'll answer, but that's some of it that
Councilmember Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. How you doing, Ms. Cat?
Doing okay, how about yourself?
All right. Appreciate all your hard work in the community, doing the work that some of us can't do, being the boots on the ground. We really do appreciate it. I think I actually asked our city manager to elaborate a little bit more about the park shelter because I know that's an issue not only to yourself but also to our community. And, I don't want to sit here and you accuse us of not responding to you. I think the mayor is right that we want to make sure that we give you the most adequate answers, especially on these topics right here. This is something very sensitive, and I don't think you want anybody just yelling out things, rebuttals, just to, silence you. So, I think this right here does supposed to go to the city manager, and this park issue that you expounded on a little bit more with your questions, I think it's something real important. It's things that I probably didn't even think about. So if our city manager can give you these answers, it'll help out tremendously with us going forward.
Thank you, sir.
With the homeless, we put together a one-stop shop. You see, in the past, when we dealt with the homeless, we would make them an appointment for this date for one thing, an appointment for that date. But now, when we do our intake information, all of those appointments and needs are met then. That's our impact program developed by the Department of Social Services to meet the challenge. So we are going to meet these challenges. These things are in place, and it's not a slow walking thing. It's something in the here and now. And I could go on and on, but for the sake of time and the other speakers, I'll just stop here.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Barnes, sir, you have the floor.
I just want to commend you for continue to come up here every meeting and talk about this issue. That shows dedication, and I think that from a council standpoint, regarding her issue, can we look to see what on the policy side that we can really do to help with this issue? If there's no objection from council, I think it's very, that shows the passion. Actually, she texted me and the mayor regarding this issue before. So I think we both know that this is a real important issue to her. So I would like to see, and not just her in general, there's a lot of people that's being affected by this.
Madam City Manager, you have the floor.
Yes, this is a topic that's scheduled for the next work session. We have a regional group of stakeholders that are meeting on a regular basis to identify solutions, to identify options for the city of Portsmouth. It was initially supposed to be scheduled for this meeting, but due to the number of agenda items, we pushed it to the next meeting. So you will get a complete report of what the homeless initiatives are, what is on for consideration, what is in place now, and how we're trying to build upon that. And also based on the list of items that was just presented earlier, we will have that report back as well, so you will be able to have a complete view of what the city's status is at that point.
Okay, and then my final question is, at the PRHA housing meeting to address gun violence and safety within the public housing community, a question was asked by someone in the audience. I think it was Woodard or Barnes, I forget which, but one of them asked if the security was going to be extended through the summer, and the person that answered the question said, we're going to give you a private presentation for that. And I would like to know why all of these conversations have to happen behind closed doors, because the people living in the public housing deserve to hear that conversation and deserve to have an answer. Are you going to extend security or not? Because this is, I mean, it's life and death, and I don't think that should be behind closed doors. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Deanna Stanton.
Good evening.
Good evening. Ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, City Council. My name is Deanna Stanton. I'm a resident of Park Manor. The last time I came to City Council, I addressed the senseless killings of our youth and crime in our city. And since then, I've been meeting with several of the grassroots organizations around town. And one of the things that I propose is that you really listen to them, because I really know that that's where the answers are going to come. They know what we need to do for the crime in the city in their communities. The other part, what I'm going to be speaking on tonight, is that as we know, solving our state of emergency in the city is going to take a multifaceted approach. It's going to take the citizens, it's going to take churches, it's going to take grassroots organizations, and law enforcement. So tonight I'm just going to say a few words on law enforcement. We all know that they play a vital role in keeping our community safe, but we also recognize the need that they have to be able to establish trust within the communities in order for crime and resolving crime to be effective. We also know that we have a severe shortage of police officers here in Portsmouth. I attended the Portsmouth Citizens Academy, so this is firsthand. This isn't anything that I've hearsay, I'm sorry. So I went out with one of the officers. We started early in the morning, and around 3 o'clock, we got the word that there was 2 squad cars, ourselves and another officer, covering from Park Manor all the way to the waterfront, 2 squad cars. Then I found out that they had 2 squad cars covering Churchland. So that's a total of 4 squad cars covering the entire city of Portsmouth. So it was probably around 5 or so, we had about 7 calls come in. an auxiliary police officer came in to help fill the void. Both officers were told they were to stick together at this point. So we met the officer and we had to decide, or they had to decide what was more important, which of the calls were the most important. There was an attempted murder, so they said, we have to take this one first. We were there 3 hours. That took the only 2 police officers covering this side off of the street. And with that being said, they did reassure me that if there was a murder or something, they have task force that will come in to handle those. But it still took the 2 squad cars off of the streets at that time. When it was time for me to go home, they took me back to the precinct, and I said, okay, well, wait a minute. What about the 6 calls that came in 3 hours ago? And they were headed to go take those calls. So what I'm saying is that we have got to address as well with the crime issue, the shortage of officers. And we all know that surrounding cities, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, has offered $5,000 in order to get an officer to come to them for 1 year's experience. Well, I've been told Portsmouth officers, when you're trained in Portsmouth, are very valuable because they are trained in all areas. And so people, all surrounding cities want them. So I am just asking, what are we going to do to entice good officers to come, to stay, so that they can make those relationships in the community? And one thing that the officer did tell me that I was riding with, they said that they want to be able to go out into the communities to make those, to make the trust, to build that trust, but they're so caught up in the call after call that they don't have the time because of the shortage of officers. So I think there's a piece there that we need to invest in our officers. We need to be able to offer them good pay, the bonuses that surrounding cities are offering as well, and that they will stay in our city. So when we train them, they don't leave, they stay. So that's all I have to say.
Miss,
Thank you, ma'am.
Miss,
Yes.
I'm sure that we have a shortage in officers. Ideally, we would want 250, I think it is.
I think we're down 90 to 100, I believe.
And we're down about 70 officers, and we just added 6.
Yes.
But if you have 100 officers in a city this size with the population that we have, you have a scheduling problem as well. So a lot of times when they're getting on the folk about retaining and holding officers, I think that we're not adjusting our schedules to meet the needs of where and when we're having problems. Yes, again, we do or could use some more officers because we're short. But if you have, again, in a city this size, 150 folk, and say you have 40 just clerical folk, you should be able to make the adjustment to hold and meet the obligations of that city. So it's a lot of problems with that police department. And we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Battle. And I hope that we can, because
We
that's
will.
going to be part of the facet, the multifacet that we
Yes, ma'am.
have in dealing with the crime.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Our next speaker is Miss Shirley Cherry. Miss Cherry, ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Shirley Pettifoot Cherry, and I am a lifetime resident of Portsmouth. I'm a retired classroom teacher of 15 years and 21 years as a reading specialist for Portsmouth Public School. But it's kind of hard to retire on God, So I'm still out here advocating for my people. Councilman Whitaker said, we must change policy in order to help poverty. And this is what we need to do. We need to really get down and I know that the crime, I'm going to talk about that, but in Portsmouth, these are facts. 18%, we have the highest rate. We have 18% is our poverty area, which is the highest in the state. The state is only 10.6, and the nation, we are the highest, we are 13.4%. So we do have to change policies. When we talk about the fact that we just can't do certain things, we can do what we can do. We can change it on the local level. We could change a lot of policies on the local level. We could change a lot of policies on the state level. We can go to Richmond. We could go to different places. We can go to Washington. When you look at what we are dealing with here in Portsmouth, the crime is awful. But do we know facts? You know, we can't tell. We funded the school. We gave them all the money that they needed. But do we know that there were over 300 children that didn't sign up to go to school this year? Could that be the ones out here doing the shooting and the killing and the running around? We have to change policy. We should be able to tell the school board that we need for them to show us, okay, so what are you going to do? We gave you all this money, but we have a whole lot of problems with our children. We have, I say, the last SOL test, we had the third graders. We only had 15% of the third graders reading on level. That is unheard of. And so we need to look around and see what we can do, how we can change policies in order to help poverty. We are higher than any state or any nation. We are really in bad shape here. But we are looking always about busing and talking about what we can do. No, you have to make a plan. All right, we need to talk to the people. If we don't walk in their shoes, we don't really know what it is to be in the area of what they are in. We need to go to the people. We need to go to the people and ask them, how can we help you? What can we do? I mean, we don't know. You don't know. You've never been in that predicament. But the people out there, they're the ones that's suffering. They're the ones that's don't have food for children to eat. We hear people coming up here all the time saying what they went through, but they didn't tell anybody. But we need to have a summit where we could call all the people together. We can go to Tidewater Community College, have a summit, and say, how can we help you? And let the people tell us. And then we could set up these programs that Bonds is talking about, Councilman Bonds is talking about. But Whitaker, you're smart person. You know this is what you said. You want to find out, why do we have to take toys to people every year? Why do we have to give them turkeys every year? So we need to really get down to the root. Moody, you've been up here a long time. You know where we could get in here and find that money. Get in here, Paul Battle, Councilman Battle. You know you're doing programs and trying to do things to help our children that's below average or not working well. But yet and still, we need to change policies. We have the highest incarcerated rate in the state of Virginia. So when these men come home, we got to realize they only been making 50 cents an hour. That slave mentality, that modern slave. They come back to our city because we have more people incarcerated. So you have people out there, they've been hustling all 20 years or whatever in prison. But when they come back to us, they can't even get housing. They can't even get houses to stay in with their families. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor.
You can still ask the question. Ma'am, you may be seated.
Oh,
Well,
ahead and ask.
I
You-
was gonna say,
you can
could we
make a
give-
comment. You
Could
can
we
make-
give her one more minute so she could finish? I think she was going somewhere then.
Ms. Cherry, did you have a final thought that you wanted to end with?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, it was still talking about the fact that we need to, I guess, we just really need to come together. We need to have a summit to find out what's going on. We need to have these programs that you're talking about, but we need to have a plan. I've been around a while, I could tell that, but I've been around a while, and I've been here in Portsmouth all my life, and I've seen it going from one end, and we're doing this and we're doing that. But we have to get to the root of the problem, and the root of the problem is the poverty. If we could get rid of that, and with these children that's out here killing, we need to call the FBIs. We need to call experts to come here and find out how to get rid of these gangs. And then after we get the expert, we need to get these children and take the guns from them and put hope in their hands. We need to do these things. We don't need to sit here and talk and fuss. We need to get away from that, just that mentality, the Willie Lynch kind of mentality. We have to get away from that. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Mr. Darrell Redmond. Sir, you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, council. Good afternoon. I'm here today to speak on the topic in regards to violence in our city as always. First of all, I want to say I thank you, Mr. DeAndre, because you say the same thing all the time. We've been here, I came here the first time we were talking about this policy with 6 months. It's still going on and on. Let's get to another session. Let's get to another session. Let's get to another session. My thing is, everybody in this council know, everybody in this room know, they know what I do in the city of Portsmouth. They know what other people do in the city of Portsmouth. We continue to talk about what's going to happen. Mr. Glover, when you ran on your run, you came to an event I did 42 days out of prison. You made a statement to me yourself. If I get in, I'm going to get with you and we're going to do something. 2 years later, I haven't had a conversation with you. You know what I'm saying? The things about bold direction, that's what you told me. I'm here today, you haven't had a conversation with me. You see what I'm doing. I haven't seen nothing you've done since you've been in office in the city of Portsmouth. I haven't seen it. I'm out there in the streets hearing what people are saying in regards to what's going on. A lot of things is happening. We keep saying, how are we going to divide this money? How are we going to divide this money? We sitting here in a situation where we talking about violence in the city, but yet I come up here and see violence amongst y'all. How do you want the city to come together and y'all can't come together? Y'all are elected officials paid by us. But yet y'all can't come to an understanding, but yet y'all saying y'all can attack violence. You have to attack violence within yourselves first in order to come out here. The reason why I'm able to do this is because I attacked the violence. I've done it. I know the strategy. I came in here with a solution that told y'all I am the answer to the solution out here. Meaning that it's people like me that y'all got the degrees, but y'all can't get out there and do what I do. I just did 5 events this month alone with nothing from nobody but the citizens of the city of Portsmouth. So when you get up here and the things come like that, facial expression, different things like that, that's just like the young guys out there in my way grabbing a gun as a sign of a threat. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Demeanor. Pay attention to demeanor. Pay attention to respect. Pay attention to certain things. You're elected to be the leader of the city. I don't see you out there. I'm out there when these calls getting got. When these people getting killed, they call my phone. They trust me. You are supposed to be leading the city and you're not leading with the bold direction that you promised. You came to my event. You came to something that I put on 42 days out of prison without nothing. But yet, what are you doing? That's my thing, because I'm speaking for the people of the city. That's what I'm speaking for. You know what I'm saying? We keep coming here with the same thing. Oh, we got to do this, we got to do this. We got to get this policy, we got to get this policy. Let something happen somewhere else and policy get done immediately. It ain't no, we need to find this, we need to find that. It gets done. The way to attack violence in the city is utilize people that y'all see as a liability and understand that we're an asset. And unless you utilize an asset in anything in life, there's a difference between a liability and an asset. Utilize your assets. Mr. Moody, you talk about what people are doing in the community. It's evident. All you got to do is look around. It's evident are the people that's in this community that's on the ground doing the job. I get the call they got to leave out the bed with my wife at 2 o'clock in the morning because somebody got shot. You don't get that call because they don't trust y'all. You know what I'm saying? These are the things that certain people speak about in regards to what needs to be done. I came up here and the first thing I told y'all, I don't come ask for no money. I never reached out to nobody, asked nobody for nothing. Because if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it from the kindness of your heart. Y'all fussing about what y'all gonna do with the money. Because if you're gonna attack it, when people come up here and say, oh, we gonna do this, like they say, okay, we gonna get the grass cut. The last time it came out there, guess what? They called me. I went out there to the cemetery and cut the grass. I ain't getting no money from nobody. But now you're gonna hire a contractor. Why won't the people that went out there last time got paid? That's my thing that's dealing with the city of Portsmouth. There's a big distrust amongst the people that's been elected, yet y'all argue, fuss, and fight and wonder why killing's going out there. They don't know how to talk amongst y'all like that. What they learned is shooting and killing. It's the same thing. It's the same murdering one another. The power's in the tongue, not in the gun. Y'all killing each other with the tongue. So you have to utilize these things, come to a different understanding, and then let's make these things come to fruition. You know what I'm saying? I never came up here and talk about the problem. We know the problem exists. You know the solution. I came up here and made a statement. People said, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I ain't heard from nobody. Not going to call nobody. Because if you wanted to happen, except for Mr. Bow, if you wanted to happen, guess what? You're going to make that call. But don't nobody want to make the call because y'all don't want to connect with the people that can give y'all the answer. And I'm through.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Mr. Harry Taylor. Sir, you have 5 minutes.
Councilors, thank you for inviting us to come speak here today. So I looked over the plan for how to deal with violent crime in the area. I noticed that one of the important things was data-driven analysis. So I looked over some census data from the United States government. And Vice Mayor Barnes, a small correction, you said that you saw this coming from 2016. The data dictates that this is coming from 2012. So if you go back, you can see the writing on the wall. You are correct. This is something we could see coming. So I chose a few of the safest towns in America: Sunnyvale, California, Frisco, Texas, and Arlington, Virginia. And I also picked my home county in Texas, Angelina County. And here are some things that I found that Portsmouth is missing the mark when you look at the data. One thing we really can't do a lot about is lower crime rates tend to have something in common. There are cities where at home people don't speak English, so there's a lot of diversity in the language that is used. I guess you could have more foreign language programs in schools, but I don't think that's something that we're realistically going to be able to address. One of the things that's brought up a lot tonight is higher income reduces crime rates. That is true. If we have less poverty, we'll have less crime. Right now, we're dealing in a situation where many starting pay at different locations is $15 to $16 an hour. If you extrapolate that for a year's salary, that's $31,000 to $33,000 a year. The average income in Portsmouth is around $26,000. That means that we could substantially increase the income and solve poverty in this county, in this county and city by people getting a job, any job, 40 hours a week. That would solve poverty to a large degree. One of the problems Portsmouth is having is retail sales are down. For something about this size with this many people, there should be spending about $14,000 to $15,000 per capita per person. Citizens are only spending about $7,000. I suspect they're going to Norfolk and Chesapeake to spend their money instead of spending it here. Where's everyone's money going? Food service and accommodations is also about 40% lower than it should be. However, healthcare and social assistance is about twice what it should be. Why is everyone so unhealthy in Portsmouth? I come to you today as a citizen and also as a specimen of that question. That is one of the things that is causing people to not be able to spend the money, is because they're spending it on their necessities just to survive. One of the problems that causes people to not be able to save money is having low home ownership. We only have about 55% of the homes that are here are actually living in by the owners of them. There are other things in here that could be causing such a problem, such as property taxes being substantially higher. Property tax rate here is 1.3%. Safest cities, Frisco, Texas, 0.4%. Sunnyvale, California, about 0.5%. And even Alexandria in Virginia, if we want to look at something that's within our state, 1.1%. We're driving away homeowners. We're making it harder for people to invest in themselves. Our Constitution was based upon life, liberty, and property. When threatened, people will defend their lives. When bullied, people will stick up for themselves. When people have property, they will invest it. They will invest within it. They will rebuild it, and they will help their city grow. We need to make it easier for people to have agency over their own property. One of the problems that is causing inequity and inequality in America is a misunderstanding between income and wealth. Income is how much revenue you're bringing in, but if you're spending it all, you're just pedaling on a bike without tires touching the ground. Wealth is whenever you're building up something going on generation after generation, and people in Portsmouth are not building up that wealth. That's leading to a larger diversity between lower income and higher income. I could go into more details, but at this time I'm running low on time. And if you want a copy of this so you can look at the data, I'll leave it for any of you. I yield the rest of my time to questions.
Councilmember Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Harry. You know what? I just want to agree with you on some of those things, though. But $15, $16 average pay, I think it's worse than that. I think it's about $11, $12 in Portsmouth, and people might work their way up to $15, $16. I think that's been an ongoing problem here in Portsmouth, though. We tend to not lower businesses here. We tend to not lower business like grocery stores. We don't have them in our communities, healthy ones, I'll say that, quality grocery stores. We tend to quickly put things on the tax rolls that don't benefit our citizens, so that's why we have higher property taxes. And like you say, I think our whole discussion has been around people just trying to survive in Portsmouth. And it's something that, I per se, I'm fighting for, especially fighting for the citizens here. But it's become the norm. It just really have. And I think people think this is what you're supposed to do is hustle your whole entire life. That's one thing I'm proud about our citizens, that they do hustle, but that's not normal. You should be able to go to a quality job and get a good wage. You should be able to eat healthy, and your children should be able to eat healthy as well. This is just the mentality of Portsmouth, and I understand gravely what you're saying, and it's a direct impact of poverty. What's the issue that we deal here in Portsmouth? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Ms. Edrica Oliver. Ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
All right, thank you. Good evening, City Council, Ms. City Manager, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Where do I start? My notes are kind of all over the place. I'll start with the fact that murder is bad for all business, okay? You guys are talking about your Sunset Thursdays, your casino that's coming, but the murder rate in this Portsmouth isn't going to bring you all any visitors or tourists. So that's the first thing we need to address. Even in the illegal in the street game, murder is bad for that business. But the reason some of them probably aren't answering the call is because there's no police to bother them anyway. So it isn't bothering anybody, but it is going to affect your business. Mr. Mayor, you spoke of our bold new direction. I have some ideas. Actually, I have some a solid plan that you all can take starting tomorrow when you get up to start addressing this problem in our city. First of all, you made the statement of us being one city and getting on one accord, which sounded like a movie. I remember One Sound, One Band. We're not on that. That's very obvious sitting here on the city council. So because I don't have a lot of time, because I can be talkative and 5 minutes is not long enough, I'm gonna get straight to the point. Mr. City Attorney, you might wanna pay attention to this as well, because what you all can do starting tomorrow is speak to your governor about declaring a state of emergency, which you have heard over and over and over in here. And state of emergency, as defined by our state code, is any type of emergency. And if you need me to read the definitions, I may not have enough time, but I have them right here. That causes an imminent danger to life, property, and any of that type of thing. And if you don't think the murder rate going on in this city is not, I'm gonna give you an example for how it can be. I had the honor of teaching his son a few years ago at Norcom. You're about to turn these killers back into Norcom soon. If his son had to go there tomorrow, his son could be at risk of getting killed just for going to Norcom. You have to drive downtown. There was a shooting recently where an innocent woman car was hit from the front and the back, waiting at a red light by two shooters shooting at each other. You have to get downtown. That could have been you in your car. That could be your family trying to get through the tunnel to go to the beach to enjoy your summer vacation. So yes, it needs to be eminently important to each of you. So you can start with that state of emergency. If you need the codes, Mr. City Attorney, the City Code of Virginia 44-146.16 is how you can get the mayor to do it. Then you, actually, ma'am, you can enforce the policy that you all need to write that will change the curfew code in the city ordinance code 24.3 parts E, F, and G. If y'all need to hurry up and get to your plan, I got it written down for you. And you can make the mayor do it. If he needs case law, I got case law. He declared a state of emergency for Richmond ahead of the gun rally in January of January 15th, 2020, because he expected people to possibly be violent. We expect these kids to possibly be violent tonight. When you walk out of here, they might get to shooting down 7th Street. Y'all got to get out of here, and you got to go through South Side unless you're going through the tunnel. And I think y'all live in the city, or you should, right? Okay, so that's where we can start. And last time I think I spoke to you, I had 3 parts. This is the first part. Then we're going to get into the restorative justice part that we need to take into the schools that I'm about to go back into in a couple of weeks so that we can get in front of these problems before it becomes blood on our streets. Ma'am, you said in a quote that you needed to get to know the history of the city first. We don't have time to get to know the history of the city. My aunt was the historian for many years. She's in her 90s now. I've already talked to her. She'll be glad to sit down and tell you the history, but we need to get to the problem right now. Because you said this was a result, right? I'm telling you the problem and how we can solve it. Appreciate y'all time. If y'all need that, I didn't have time to write it out. I just had a death in my family. I'll email it to you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Our next speaker is Saran Day.
How y'all doing? I came here 2 weeks ago and I talked to you guys about my son being shot in Churchland. I'm back again. My nephew was killed in Portsmouth last night. So what's happening is violence is hitting families 2 and 3 times. Tonight when I was at the wake, the setting up, which is, I'm sure you know what that is, where the family gets together, I talked to the father, which is my brother. This is his 2nd child who was killed. So he's lost, you're talking to parents and family members who are losing 2 and 3 family members at a time. When I got in here, I was hurt, I was sad, but then I got angry. I got angry because it's some, like I said last time, it's some old people up here, some young people up here. But y'all have to get on one accord. It is embarrassing. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. It's embarrassing. And DeAndre, let me tell you something. You're a soldier, you bad. I think this is a little beyond you. I'm gonna be honest. I see bigger things for you, but right now I need you to come down a little bit. I need you to work with them because let me tell you what's gonna happen. You're a fireball. You bomb. I'm telling you, all of y'all are dope. All of y'all. I'm talking about for Mr. Moody. Mr. Moody, you old school, but you showed off in here tonight though. I'm a little disappointed in you because you were cussing up here. Because I want to cuss, but I couldn't cuss. But I want y'all to think about families at this point. I want y'all to go back to, what is the movie called? As an educator, I want to talk about differentiated instruction. The movie with Eddie Murphy in it, what is it, Coming to America? One of the biggest things that I got out of that movie was when the wife told the king, "You're the king. You can change policy. You can do stuff, you can make stuff happen." And so with the mayor and the city manager, y'all have power, and as Ms. Oliver just stated, we're in a state of emergency. My son was shot in the back June 20th, Father's Day. Now my nephew is dead, shot 6 times. I had to ride past here and see the blood on the street. He got 4 babies, shot 6 times. It's a state of emergency. Sugar, it's a state of emergency. I need for you to come down a little bit and straighten up a little bit. You got Powerhouse, you got Mr. Whitaker. I missed you the last time, Mr. Whitaker. I get to see you this time. The great Mr. Whitaker, powerful. But we need you. And we need you to work together and show the young bucks what they need to do, because at the end of the day, you ain't gonna get nothing out Mr. Glover, and you ain't gonna get nothing out Miss Jones. What you doing? They ain't gonna it ain't that they ain't gonna listen to you, because we put y'all in here. You know what I'm saying? So we have some rights too, but you can't do it by yourself. And the more you antagonize them you bring out spirits in them, and they're gonna, not that they're not gonna do their job, but they're gonna be a little bit resistance to you. And we don't need resistance right now with our family members getting killed. So I need for y'all to get together. Because the next time another one of my family members, because I know God ain't coming to get me. I know he ain't upset with me. I worked my butt off. But 2 of my family members have been shot in the city of Portsmouth in the last 60 days. Y'all better do something. Because if I got to get out here and start doing a whole bunch of talking, and if anything had happened to my son, I'll be dead anyway. So I'll probably be out here just probably going randomly crazy. But my son survived. But then my nephew is gone. So I need for y'all to work together. It's a lot of frustration up here on this board. But right now we're in a state of emergency. Stop, damn it, playing. Mr. Moody cuss, I'm gonna say damn it. Stop, damn it, playing up here, y'all, and get a state of emergency. Get the marshals out here, and let these kids know if we catch you with a gun, that's your ass. That's your ass. If we catch you out here with guns, stop letting these menace kids. Do you know the young man who shot my son? Do you know he's going up? He's getting ready to get out. Chesapeake and Norfolk don't play with these young kids with guns. If you get caught with a gun and you robbing somebody, it ain't no such thing as you coming home on an ankle monitor. They're not playing, so y'all need to tighten up, pull some stuff out late at night, pray about it. Let me bring God in here real quick. I can end it. It's got 28 seconds. Y'all better get right. God is not happy. And you don't want y'all to be crying. Because see, then it's going to be all in the news. If one of y'all children or grandkids get killed, it's going to be top news, breaking news, China 10, even Rhoda Young. Rhoda Young will be, oh Lord, somebody, the city, the mayor, somebody. You don't want the enemy to come in your house. He riding all up and down our streets. Y'all better tighten up.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Laquita Reese.
How you doing?
Good evening, ma'am. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening. So I came here also 2 weeks ago, and I talked to you personally. You told me that you would help me. I'm going to tell you my story again. I stay out Southside Gardens. My house got shot up. I have 3 little kids. Now it's to the point that we don't have anybody in our rental office. So my house is still boarded up. I still have the gunshots in my house. Me and my kids are still scared. You told me personally, Mayor, that you would get me help. The only person that called me was somebody from social services telling me that I need to get me and my kids out of the house. I mean, that's obvious. I know that. What else do I need to do? Because right now, we're not able to move because a lot of places are not accepting a lot of places because of the pandemic. They don't have any openings until October. Again, somebody outside Gardens house just got shot up on Friday. So it's still going on in my neighborhood by my house. My house could have got hit again. And I told you last time I was here, I almost got hit by a bullet. I am scared to go home. Me and my kids are still dealing with this, and yet another resident house got shot up at the same neighborhood. We don't have any security out there. We don't have nobody. We right here by the police station and the fire station. And we don't have no security, nobody out there. And then we don't have nobody in our office. So who do we have? What help do we have? So I'm asking you personally, Mayor, what do I need to do, and what are you going to do to help me? Because I don't know what else to do, and I don't know who else to turn to. And everybody that I talk to keeps telling me the same thing. Mr. Barnes, he was there at the other meeting for Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority. He heard me speak again there. And you know what they said? They told me the same thing. You need to get you and your kids out of there. Okay, what else are y'all going to tell me? What else are y'all going to do to help me and my kids? I'm just confused at this point. And then they told me, well, we don't want to say we can't help you because you're not under Redevelopment Housing Authority, you're under HUD. Okay, but at the same time, you're still part of Portsmouth. So y'all supposed to help each other. We supposed to be helping each other, right? But y'all not helping me. Y'all just giving me numbers to call, and nobody is still calling me or helping me and my kids. And then when I did talk to my rental office, they told me if they had to move me, they had to move the whole community. But yet my community is still getting shot up, and now the people that I talked to in the office, they're no longer there. So if you can't answer my question, what do I need to do, or what are you actually going to do to help me and my kids, or help me and my community? Because I can't talk to y'all, but you said yourself personally that you will help me.
Ma'am,
Yes.
as I shared with you before, perhaps I didn't convey it clearly. I sent you, and I requested that you talk to our manager.
And I did.
Who also deals with our social services department and all the other resources.
That's the only one that called me was the lady from social services.
Right.
And she's told me that I need to get my credit up to move out that place. But that's the only thing that I got from the sources that you gave me.
Okay, so perhaps we need to do a follow-up to see what additional can be done, but that was what I would recommend to any of our citizens to get the assistance that they need. That's why those agencies are there.
Okay.
So that is why I recommended it to you. And I apologize if for some reason I confused you that I would personally do it because I'm not equipped to personally take care of anybody.
Okay.
But we have services and people that are in place to assist you. And I was sincere, and I still am sincere, about when you came to us as a citizen and shared with us your concerns. I share with you, no one should have to live like that. And I still mean what I said. And so what we have to do is let's figure out, let's go back to the table.
Okay.
Let's see what kinds of things are in place to potentially help you. I don't want you to leave here with the idea that you're out there by yourself. We are one city and we want to help you.
But that's how I feel. And again, like, I don't have nobody in the rent office, so I'm trying to even figure out what are they doing about that and about getting security. What are we doing about that? Because we have cameras in my neighborhood, but half of them don't work. And again, no, when we did have security, yes, the crime rate was way better than what it is now. I can't say that. But where is our help and where is the security?
Sure, and one of the things, if I could address it, and the manager may address that, where they're located over in Southside, is that privately owned or is that city owned? Do
I
we
believe
know?
it's on the HUD, if I'm not mistaken.
Right,
And told me to call
they may have HUD, they may get funding for their housing from HUD, but they don't necessarily.
I believe that is private because, like,
Right,
again,
it is
they're not-
privately owned, because I remember I helped a young lady out there before, and it is privately owned. So I'm not, passing the buck here, but we have to work within the system. We can't go to a private entity and tell them how to conduct their business.
So who do I
per
need
se.
to call then if the rental office is not in there and I can't talk to anybody in the rental office?
I don't know the answer right now, but I think the first place we need to start is to get with our manager and get with our team, and we can reach out to our resources to see if we can assist you.
Okay.
Okay? Vice Mayor Barnes.
I just want to say, and I find myself taking up for the mayor on this. your frustration should be directed at all the council. And the reason I say that is because we don't have, what we have in Portsmouth is called a city council, city manager form of government. So the mayor doesn't run the city, it's the full council. And so I know a lot of people, when they come up here, they go after the mayor, but it should be, because we as a council got to share that equal blame
Okay.
for the issue. So I just wanted the people to know that the mayor doesn't run the city. It's the city council and the city manager form of government, which is different from a strong mayor form of government. And with that being said, I'm not sure what we can do, but can we make sure that we do the research as a council I mean, from your office, and see what we can do to help her in her situation?
Sure.
Because
Not just me, other people too, because I mean, they going through the same thing. So I'm just saying, when they house get shot up, what are we supposed to do? Or who can we go to or talk to get help to get out of the situation that we are in?
And that's an issue in Southside and London Oaks. That's one of those big issues, because it seems like every time something goes on there, they're allowed to, these neighbors are allowed to do what they want to do or mistreat our residents, and there's nothing being done in those situations. So whatever we can do to help those people in that situation, I just want to say we can do that. And Miss, I didn't want to go. I don't know if she's still in here, Miss Sharon. I didn't want to go and make it seem like I didn't hear what she said. I listened. I don't know if she's still in here, but I wanted her to know that I did hear what she said, and I'm definitely listening. So I don't want her to think that I didn't listen.
Thank you.
Please don't leave this evening without talking to the manager further, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. That concludes our speakers. Okay, Councilmember Woodard, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you. My question is for the city manager. I just wanted to inquire about, could we give any security agency authority or whatnot for these private properties to make sure they have somebody on site? I know they do that up north a lot. They're redevelopment companies. This is, well, like I say, this is actually not a redevelopment company, but for these private owned apartment complexes or communities, could we put something in place that make them have some obligation to security?
I think that's something that we can look into. I'm not sure that I'm prepared to report on that tonight.
Oh, of course.
But I will definitely look at the options and see what we can report back on.
Right, because it is a practice they do up north a lot, especially with these private communities. You know, I have some information on that as well. I can send it over to you. But I think it's something we need to really look at, because this is actually, it's a problem. You know, it really is a problem that, you know, we can put some people in place to really help out those people.
Thank you, sir. And so that concludes our speakers for this evening. And we do have a comment from Councilwoman Lucas-Burke.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate all of the speakers who have come. This is the third meeting that we've had speakers on gun violence, and we have listened intently. And a couple things have resonated with me, and I've heard a couple speakers mention that we are in a state of emergency. And I have, my mother is the state senator, the president pro tem of the Virginia Senate, and she has contact with the governor. But I would like the city manager and the city attorney to bring us back some information on how we can, what things we can declare as a state of emergency, and also for us to look at some charter change or some policy where we do have curfews on children who are underage, because it was brought to our attention last meeting that a lot of the shootings are occurring right now from a 13 to a 15-year-old standpoint, and before that it was a 20 to 25, and then I asked, was it going to be next? Is it going to be the 6 and the 8-year-olds? So if we can get some information on how we address that and how we look at that, I think that that will help us to show that we are taking some action, because I've spoken to many people through emails and texts and phone calls, and it's 95,000 people in the city, but it's 7 of us here on the council, and we do have a manager form of government. We answer to our manager, and we can get directions that way. But, they mentioned that, if they don't see some action, they're going to start taking some action of their own. And I don't want this to turn into a war on our citizens against us as their elected officials. We want to show some respect. We want to be proper in how we deal with things, but it is an outcry, and people are afraid, and they feel like it's getting closer and closer to their homes, to their doors, because, it used to be, it was one community. DeAndre, you mentioned that you grew up in Dale's Home, and it used to be Dale's Home, and then it used to be London Oaks, and now it's just like it's moving to Hodges Manor and to Cavalier Manor, and then it's moving. It's a citywide, it's a nationwide issue. So if you can just bring us back some information on those 2 things, because those 2 right now are resonating with my spirit, and when that does, I think that we can take some action beginning with that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And so that concludes, once again, our speakers. We do have one more presentation on our youth recreational programming, but I would ask that we take a 5-minute adjournment and come back for the final presentation.
It's 10 o'clock. Can we move that to next public work session?
If that's the consensus of council, we can do that. I just did not want to I wanted to make sure that we gave it the appropriate attention that it needed. So if that's the consensus of council, we get a show of hands that we move that to our next public work session. As it is stated, that is the pleasure. So, Madam Manager, can we move that to the next session?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending tonight. Seeing no other business before us, this meeting is adjourned.